I get the letters. I'll get a lot of letters every year from autistic children, now autistic adults who are still using these products. And they write me and say, oh, you know, the characters are teenagers now, do a teenager story, all handwritten, 3 pages long with drawings, you know. And so this last year, the fellow Mickey Mantle, who had been the head of technology at Broderbund, came back to me and said he figured out a way to reverse engineer the original discs, because all the archives were buried in Mifflin somewhere and they didn't know where any of the assets were. And he wanted to get the band back together. So here's Harry in the Haunted House, which is actually a title that from a children's book that I illustrated. So this particular title sold somewhere around 350, 400,000 copies.
In the original run?
As a CD, yes, in CD-ROM and various platforms. Okay. So it was an interesting problem to try and take this from what it was then and to rebuild it. So there was a lot of work in the rebuilding process. One of it is we added this whole way to scale through the pages real quickly and find other parts of the story. So what I was looking for was building a reading experience. And while we're waiting for the picture to come up, when I built the first prototype, it was a little monster at school. And there was a point where he steps out, he says, in the morning I get up for breakfast and go downstairs, put on my overalls and go downstairs. And I first had him step into the scene, like the actor from the proscenium arch. And we were highlighting the text, and we thought because it was moving, the kids would follow it, and the kids were looking at his mouth. And we went, oh, we can't do that. So we had to have him come in after the speaking. So the whole thing was quite a learning process over time to figure out where did the eye go? Where did your attention go? So one of the things we did is we added this new navigational piece up here so you can go to any page of the story.
The closer we got to the old house, the bigger and spookier it looked.
And
did you see that?
in this particular story, the boys have a lot of active imaginations and are scared, and the girl is the one who's the more reasonable one, and kind of gets, the boys have watched too many scary movies. So when we built it, the little ball, of course, lets you play the music, the story over, but every word.
The closer we got to the old house.
And so we recorded everything in every language twice, because we wanted the kids to be able to come and click on the words individually. And what we found is that the emerging readers who they were mapping the stories would click every word in order. You know, we went to the beach, just grandma and me. The closer we got to the old house. And they'd play with it, you know. And we let them rap it a little bit. And that's up to the 5-year-olds. And then, but when the 7-year-olds would play with it, they came in and played it out of order. In this particular story, Stinky is this character, and there's this, they imagined the zombie in the house. And one father wrote me and said, all the boys were on the floor laughing, and he came in and wanted to find out what was going on. And finally they showed him, and they were clicking the words out of order, making their own sentence, and they'd made, the zombie has a stinky butt. You know? But they were using it how they wanted to use it. But the 5-year-old and the younger kids used it how they wanted to use it. But every page in here is completely full of, I'm going to click on the tree. Who'd you go? The house. And every page has, I don't know how many, but I think the whole book has like 260 hotspots, not including the text. And here's the skulls.
Why did the skeleton go to the party?
Oh.
I don't know. Because he has no body to go with.
That's where I got that joke. Sorry. And on every page it was a hidden character. And I'll show you later because we hook it up to the parents, but it's a spider. And so in the exploration process, there's this whole other kind of game of trying to find the hidden piece.
Oh, you really think so?
So, I mean, there's, 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 there's characters hidden in here. And When we built it originally, what Warren was talking about is I didn't allow the text to be interrupted, so that the kids would, we were kind of dragging them across the story so they would actually do that, but they would wait because they were waiting for the interactivity. And when they brought it back to me, the first thing I asked for was I wanted them to make it so I could make everything interruptible. And they all went, oh, okay. But they came back to me. What we did is we've set them all up to settings for teachers so that they can come back. Teachers can change it. And why we need interruptibility is here, is we have multiple languages up in this corner. So I can change this page.
Mientras más nos acercábamos, más grande, más tenebrosa se veía.
Immediate to another language. And they're all.
Tenebrosa.
And if there's songs in the story, all the characters in one of our Arthur stories, there were 12 characters. So we had to cast them 12 times in Spanish. It was, it was a lot of work. This storybook is French. He said,
Plus nous approchions de la vieille maison, plus elle semblait grande et terrifiante.
so language as a second language was an important piece to us in this. And having tracked these over 20 years, I got an email from the Huichol Indian Center in the mountains of Mexico. And I was somebody that I knew who was at a health center there. And she bought a computer to take in the language of the Huichols. To help, she had moved down there in order to save the language, basically. And she worked with the people to make things when they were sick, and then she ran up to that hospital. And she had a computer, and it came with one of my storybooks. And she knew me. So she sent me pictures of the elders, all in their tribal garb, sitting around playing with Arthur's teacher trouble in Spanish, because they were having to now integrate into the Spanish-speaking community, and the tribal elders felt like they needed to know the language to step out of their regional piece. Those kind of stories, it's like, we're going, wow, that was amazing, So, it goes on. I'm going to jump to another page. And we'll do it in English.
It must have been a long time since anyone had lived there. There was dust everywhere.
So again, everything's interactive and tapping on the light. Tapping on the clock.
5 o'clock and all is well.
He's a character from a painting earlier in this story, the train. So one of the things that we found was really with autistic children is that we started getting letters from parents who were saying, well, their Down syndrome child had learned to read. And then we got a letter from a family where they had a 12-year-old daughter who didn't speak at all. She only did a little bit of sign language, and she couldn't handle, for an autistic child, everything is sensory overload. So it's too loud, it's too much. They couldn't take her into stores, she would begin screaming. And she sat down on one of the programs and just began playing and playing and playing and playing. And she would stay up late, and the other kids would go to sleep, and they'd let her play. And 2 or 3 weeks into it, she gets up one morning and comes to the breakfast table and says, "I'm sorry," which is one of the lines in the storybook. And she was, because she could play continually, and all those positive reinforcements, she was able to remap the world. And her special ed teacher was going, "She's blossoming, what's going on?" And as we thought about it more, we realized that what was happening was that before, the world was attacking her. And she was remapping this world to be like this world where she's in control. And so now she'd go and touch you, and she was the one in control. So I really have this, large database of how the autistic kids were using it. And, I'm sorry, lamp and there's things, there's things hidden everywhere.
There's dust on that page.
There's dust on this. Yes, there's dust on this page. I'm sorry, that's right.
See what?
That's very good.
So we've had a wonderful response from the large community, even though it's all stretched out here, and even though it's jaggy, we've had love letters from adult autistic children and families who grew up with this who've all been buying it again. This storybook is actually also in German, Japanese, and UK English. And I know my time's up. I want to show you, we've added this new section, so there's a whole piece here for parents that tells you what's going on, and it tells the parents what the hidden object is. So, and there's a whole lot of pieces about language play and how to actually get the most out of the product with your child. We also have a whole set for teachers that talks about how they can use it, and then we also have there's more language. In this case, the French has already been taken, but we have a 40-page classroom activity guide that was built by educators. So these were actually used in the classroom. Teachers were buying them in bulk already. So then we started working with educators to build the pieces to go with it. And then the last sort of thing that's really, I think, interesting is just the settings. That we were able to take it, you can kind of play it any way you want. You can script the intro. We have a mode that's called, what it used to be called the patience mode, where you have to wait for everything to play out. So you have somebody who's ADD, you have to wait for it to finish. And but teachers have been really excited about this because they can customize the interface to work in the way that they're working with students, speech pathologists and others. Sometimes they want, if you're doing ESL, you want to jump between languages. And if you're not doing ESL, then you might want to have the story read out in the beginning. So this is Harry in the Haunted House, and I'm glad to share it with you all.
Can you leave the main menu on? Let's just go to school here with Dr. Schlichting on how to do in-app sales the right way, okay? It's two separate, there's a wall between content for kids and content for parents. Even the music is different. This is the parents. So right now, there's languages and more. I guess this is fair game from what I'm seeing, and everyone else, other reviewers can speak up. They have a button that says languages and more. If you touch that, then it can go into sales.
And there's even a warning if you pick something. So it's not like you have to kind of get through several hurdles.
Right, right. The other thing that I really like is in the settings. All those sliders, touch settings, Mark. This is what I like, because you can't, as a reviewer, you can basically de-negative review your app. That's like spray it with reviewer proof by having options to deactivate. I can't criticize the volume if you can turn it off. I can't criticize something if you give the parent or the child the option to alter it. So the ability to turn on and off the interruptibility of the text is brilliant, because you give the ability. This is interactive media, so you can sort of mature yourself.
You can choose the level of interactivity you want.
Yeah, and you could even, in theory, hide the in-app sales if you wanted to. They could be default on, but if you have a thing, say turn off prompts for in-app sales in this menu, put it 20 down. But you can call me back and say, hey, dummy, reviewer, we have an option for that. You can turn it off. I'm saying, I'm sorry, print a retract, a correction, whatever. So the key here is you're treating this children like your own, because you're keeping all of the sales motive in a separate menu for parents.
Yeah, and then when you come out, this thing is supposed to be sparkling, although it seems to have frozen here. Just to say, this is where the kids go, this is where the kids go.
The other thing you did is, if you go in and hit play there, just go start the page
Have the story.
and do let me play.
Over here. Let's go.
And so up at the top now there's the options for the languages. So hit the world.
And I will play ball.
All right, and what it says here is if you haven't purchased French, it it doesn't say buy French for $1.99 with one click in the in-app sale. It says French is available, right? Isn't that what?
Yeah, the French would be here, but it would be darkened out.
Right.
Or it might not even be there, I'm not sure, because we were really looking to not have anything that the kids,
Right.
we didn't want anything that they could touch on that they couldn't have,
Right.
so.
Right. Graying out isn't fair because that's a tease.
Yeah, I think it is just the ones that are available.
Yeah. And then if it is for sale, it's clearly marked and there's a price on it, so you know that that's really a purchase kind of thing. And then you enter the evil zone because that's in the kids' class. All right, thanks, Mark.
Oh, any questions?
Questions?
How much is selling it
I think he's selling it for $4.99 or $5.99, you know, and I wasn't involved in the pricing because he put in a lot of money. There was a lot to convert all this stuff, and you can imagine, you know how it is.
It's really rich.
And I think that's the sad thing in the marketplace is you can have a product that's really rich and really deep, and parents don't understand the difference between that and something that's $1.
That's true.
And the other thing also is that every one of these books, when we shipped them originally, they came with the real paper book in the box, the original local medium, because we wanted kids to be able to take what they learned in the program with them when they left. And actually, there are books available for all of these still. Okay?
Any other questions? All right, great, thank you.